Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Hassan, joined as always by Tristan.
It's me, Tristan, the guy.
Folks,
The one
this is
guy.
our first real new topic of 2025. We're in the second quarter of the century.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking ahead, folks. Last episode, we looked ahead, our predictions. But this is us,
right.
new topics,
Brand new topic.
New things where we've moved past old topics into new things. Tristan, this is your week. What are we starting things off with?
Son, I can think of no better way to look forward than by looking backward a little bit.
What?
At The Simpsons again!
All right, you're gonna have to. I need to
What?
get something for the. Don't worry.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a great idea, everybody.
Simpsons, he says. We're gonna do the Simpsons, he says. Okay,
Yeah.
well.
Is that a whole bottle of cognac? No, not cognac. That is just... Yeah, all right. That was a...
Boom.
That's a long swig there, son.
Okay.
That
No,
is a-
Simpsons, let's...
Long,
Oh, I'm good now. Let's do this.
it's a long draw on that one.
Hmm?
It's a long draw on that one. The VSOP.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's my good friend Saint Remy here to just
St. Remy.
help
Right here.
get through some more Simpsons.
Bottle right here. Look at him. Yeah, we're Simpsons. Look, here's the thing. We haven't talked about it enough.
No, yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Yep. Yeah.
There we go. I'm just,
Yeah. I honestly,
Ugh.
like, you can talk about The Simpsons for forever. There's a lot out there. You can do, like, individual breakdowns of each episode, really. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm thinking, like, maybe, like, we could do... realistically, we could just turn this into a whole Simpsons podcast, honestly. I have 752 topics to go.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
No, we should do that.
Yeah.
I wonder
But,
how much brandy it takes to kill you.
oh, not that much.
Oh, that's great.
Keep drinking
relief.
that, you'll find out soon. No, so today will be, for all intents and purposes, the last time we discuss The Simpsons, at least as a whole collective of show. I will point.
Conditions, huh?
Okay, yeah, I got a point. I have one more in the can. That's not going to come up anytime soon. So I got to do some actual, like, writing for it. I need to get myself together.
Ranking of sexiest Simpsons characters. Number 1,
Luann.
Cletus.
Cletus, yeah, okay. Brandine, Cletus, Luann, Apu, and I don't know, Chief Wiggum or some sort.
Checks out.
Actually,
Elvis.
what's his wife's name? Shit.
I don't remember
Wiggum's wife's
at all.
Wiggum's wife is so, like, there's an episode that reveals that, like, she's this weird, like, super spy kind of thing, like, con, like, thief sort of character, and, like, personality shift there is kind of gets me. It's like, ooh, okay. Anyway, we're here to discuss this on The Simpsons, but not just any episodes of The Simpsons. The worst of the worst.
All right.
So
it's everything after season 12. Ha ha! Sick burn.
I mean, it does start in season 13, so that's what I would say.
Great. Let's hear it then. Number 10.
Yay! Okay, one second here. Number 10. So, number 10 is kind of a softball and I had to include at least one of these on there because, hey, clip shows are pretty bad, and I will give a lot of leeway to clip shows, but there is one that stands out above them all as the worst clip show that The Simpsons has produced, and that is Season 13's Gump Roast. It is.
I mean, obviously, it's a Forrest Gump parody where Homer, presumably, is Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it's not just that. There's a lot more to that episode as far as like he's not just Forrest Gump. He is that, but they go into multiple different parodies, and then like they try and parody a few other things on top of that. Then King and Kodo show up in a non-canon way, I think, because it's a clip show. But like it's still them in like a non-Trios of Horrors episode, which does set a dangerous precedent for the rest of the Simpsons moving forward. So again, it's a clip show. My rule was for clip shows they get an automatic 3 out of 10, and to get anywhere above or below, you got to really kind of like shine in or rust in one different direction or another, and Gump Roast really does get rusty. Yeah. I think the highest rated clip show we did was like a 6 out of 10.
Oh god,
something like that.
The fourth image for my Google results, at least, of this is Mo as Austin Powers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not great. It's kind of emblematic of a lot of things that The Simpsons were hitting at the point. It's a clip show so bad that the writer actually apologized for it.
Oh.
So that's got something going for it there.
It's so like so because I'm looking at it. So episode came out in 2002, and it's one of those things at the time. I mean, I would have been too young, but I think even if I had been old enough at the time, I wouldn't have been able to put my finger on it. But looking backwards, it's the kind of thing where I look and go, oh, you could tell that the writing was on a downward trend by this point, because they did a Forrest Gump parody, and
in 2002, no less.
Nothing against Forrest Gump, but when I think about what the earlier seasons, the golden era, whatever you want to call it, when they did sort of parodies and references, they were either non-specific or they were at least not like the biggest of things. Like the monorail episode is clearly in many ways a Guys and Dolls, or not Guys and Dolls. Trombones and the Music Man, I think is what that was called. It's clearly doing a parody of that, of, Sham Guy comes into town, sells them on this thing will fix everything musical.
Yeah.
But like, that was never the biggest film in the world. It wasn't a cultural touchstone in the same way. Whereas like, I feel like you start to look at stuff like this and it's like, their parodies are just the most mainstream things.
Yes.
And that's the whole joke is, you're supposed to get this as a parody of Forrest Gump. Whereas the monorail episode, it doesn't matter if you haven't seen The Music Man. No. It's still a fantastic episode. It's just if you've seen The Music Man, it's a little bit better. And I can see why this is on your list as a result.
Yes, exactly. Like I said, it doesn't just parody Forrest Gump. There's a few things it tries to hit on as well. It's also... It has the purpose of also kind of like being a roast-based thing, which back in 2002, roasting started becoming like a really big trending thing, if you recall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I didn't piece that together from the name. I should have.
Roast, yeah. They do so instead of just doing a Forrest Gump episode, like flashback, which is a good idea for a clip show on its own, they decide we can't just do that. We also, Homer then must drive to a roast of himself. And then Kane and Kodo show up and they start trying to be like, humans are dumb and therefore, this is why. And Homer Simpson proves all of this. And this is why we're going to destroy the world kind of thing. And it's just, I don't know. They didn't try hard enough, but then also tried too hard in the wrong direction. It's kind of sad, personally.
No, yeah, it all lines up. I can understand being on this list. Number 9.
Number 9 is going to go to The Return of Lurleen Lumpkin, Papa Don't Leech, Season 19. Oh, what a heinous episode. It's just so... Oh, man. This is the worst thing, but the worst is that I actually didn't... So unlike The Best of the Best, I did not rewatch any of these episodes because I didn't have to.
Fair.
And this one is pretty ingrained. So, yeah. Again, the plot of this one is that all of Springfield owes like millions of back taxes. And Lurleen Lumpkin is like supposedly owing the most. And somehow this ends up with Marge taking her back in, and then somehow she gets back with her dad, who exploits her further and sells her songs to the Dixie Chicks for profit. And it's just like, this is not a bad a bad subject to write about on its own. Like, this could have been a good episode, but everything about this just sucks.
I've just realized something. So, Lurleen Lumpkin is still a Springfield resident?
Yeah, she's homeless. Which technically means she doesn't actually owe taxes.
So
she's bankrupt.
Well, you have to declare bankruptcy and all that. But,
fair enough.
So the implications are she got big and famous, but then lost all of her money.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, all right. Because I was very confused about, hang on, are we supposed to feel sympathy for this woman that got big and rich and owes the most money because she wasn't paying it? But I guess if, she lost it, sure. I think that we talked about this episode when this season came up, right? Yeah. And I just... What? Like, there are a lot of characters... you could bring back.
Lurleen Lumpkin.
Lurleen's not one you need to. She doesn't... Her story arc, her relation to Homer had a conclusion.
Yeah.
As opposed to... like, if I think about John Waters' character, the gay guy who was really into toy collecting... Not that I think bringing him back is interesting either, but it didn't feel like there was a very obvious finality to his connection to The Simpsons, whereas Lurleen it was. Yeah. And it's the most obvious, we brought her back because she's an iconic character and everybody remembers this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, but... Especially
because, the way this works, here's just a little through line for you. So in season, what was it, 4, I think it was, 3 or 4, Lurleen shows up and Homer has to manage her singing career. And then he dumps her because she's trying to tempt him into being unfaithful to Marge, and he doesn't want to be part of that. Makes sense. Later on in another season, it's 3 or 4 seasons later, they mention that Lurleen is actually down on her luck and is hitting the bottle and this kind of stuff. And they changed the actor who was doing that voice. So instead of saying like a country western singer, she's all sounding like this, In season 19, though, they bring her back. It's like that actor comes back to reprise that role because it was a guest role. Yeah, which means they can do one more episode with it without feeling too bad about the character, but they had already kind of character assassinated her into this essentially homeless, down on her luck country western singer in Springfield. And that essentially makes her into this anomalous, strange figure in these shows where, like, she definitely exists and existed and did stuff. But, like, it's hard to care because she's not a returning character. Realistically, she's not like, you know, how, like, Disco Stew comes up a few times here or there, but he's not overplayed. You don't see Disco Stew all the time, just occasionally. She's not that. She was a guest character, but even some guest characters have shown up multiple times, at least in the background. She hasn't. Just one other time, and we're supposed to just poke fun at her and kind of be like, we're killing this character off, essentially, without having to kill her off.
It's very odd to see that the Dixie Chicks are part of this episode.
That one's also strange, yeah. I agree.
Like, didn't think they were popular in 2008 because they came out against Bush and the war. So it's like a weird, if the Simpsons was taking a stand on it and being like, no, we support the Dixie Chicks.
Which they weren't.
That'd be neat, but they're not. Anything else to say on this episode?
No, it's just not a very good one.
That's fair then.
Oh,
number 8.
Yeah, one thing. It is a bit of a heinous, weird. There's a weird dream where Homer kills his father in an extremely gruesome fashion. So there was that at least as well.
All right. Well, now I'm back in.
Yeah.
Number 8.
Number 8 go to the first of the worst season of The Simpsons, which is season 26's The Musk Who Fell to Earth.
Of course it ends up on this list.
I
but
don't want to talk about Elon Musk ever. Ever.
Wow.
And yet here I am.
They got real lazy with their celebrity appearance and stylings, huh? Yeah. So I'm looking at the images for this episode. Yeah. That doesn't look like Elon Musk.
It does and it doesn't. I agree entirely. It doesn't look like him, but that's probably as close as we're going to get from the Simpsons-ified version of him. It's the same thing that happened with Mel Gibson, where that guy, that's close to Mel Gibson, but doesn't look like him at all, really. It's no James Woods, that's for sure.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. This is the 8th episode of this list is the Elon Musk one. It sucks because it toes the line of why Elon Musk is kind of good and kind of bad. It also sucks because it really actually just really sucks his dick the entire time. But for the first half of the episode, it's just let's fillet Elon Musk. And the last half is let's bring that back just a little bit because he's a bit of a controversial figure. But when this season came out, he wasn't that controversial. He's way more controversial now, I gotta say. But it's just the whole Lisa basically worshiping this guy is insane, considering how bad his whole thing is for the environment. And Lisa being, an environmentalist would likely not respect this man, despite the fact that he's a genius. He's not. Again, let's put that back out there, that energy. He's an idiot who grew up rich and lucked into more success.
I had to look it up to give myself some context. So, because this episode's 2015, the whole him calling the cave diver a pedo wasn't until 2018. Yep. So this being 3 years before that, I'll be honest, at the time, I would have said, I think he's clearly a, smart science tech dude. I think for a lot of people, the knowledge of the truth of his past and the no one could have foreseen the person he would become, to be honest.
Nobody thought he would be essentially the... Man, is he the Joseph Mengele of the U.S.?
No.
I could see that going there.
That's look. Could he go there? Sure. Is he there yet? No.
Oh, yeah. Yet. Love since apartheid, though. Big apartheid fan.
The thing that sucks the most about looking at an episode like this is, you know, at the time, I probably wouldn't have even been upset over it ego stroking a billionaire and you know, portraying positively a guy who, even at the time, there were definite things we knew about him as a negative person. But with hindsight, you absolutely look at that and go, hey, turns out we never should have been nice to billionaires. We always should have portrayed them negatively. Yeah, it's so crazy. Only 10 years ago to think that, like, hey, at the time, it didn't seem like guys like this were set to become oligarch-like figures, if not actually oligarchs.
Didn't seem that way at the time, no. But
whereas now, you look at this and go, man, like, again, a very extreme comparison, not remotely trying to say or reduce how evil he was. But it would be like seeing a cartoon 10 years before World War II kicks off, and they're like, the genius scientist Mengele. And you're just like, boy, you know, if only you knew. Oh, you know, talking about how, like
10 years later,
calling him, like, the bad boy of science, because he's willing to sometimes push the rules and his experiments a little too far. You're like,
Ooh, bit that, yeah. Anyway, Elon Musk is so far not that bad yet, but, you know, we'll see where this life takes us. Yeah, they really fillet him with the self-driving cars thing. I don't know why, like, because they don't actually self-drive.
So yeah, that's one that I can give a little bit of context, because I won't say like deep into it, but I was reading a lot about it at the time. We look at it now, and you're like, oh yeah, self-driving cars, they're nowhere near the thing.
Nowhere.
Back then, it wasn't just Tesla and Elon. You were hearing it from every major car manufacturer, where they're like, oh yeah, within 3 or 4 years, we'll have like full self-driving. You won't even have to own a car. You'll just rent one, because it'll just be self-driving. So why would you own it when most of your time your car isn't driving?
Yeah, that worked out for them.
And I understand why they would do that, because, you know, you talk to all the experts, and all the experts are saying this, whereas now you're like, wow, okay, they were all idiots, huh?
Yep, they were all idiots. Man, were they ever?
Anyways, anything else in this episode?
Nope, fuck Elon Musk.
Yeah, I forget. Number 7?
Number 7.
Okay.
Season 26 is The Man Who Came to Be Dinner.
I don't know what that's a pun on. It's kind of a bad title.
The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh, it is going for that, because that was the only thing I could think, but I was like, oh, it can't be that. It's too different.
So what this is The Simpsons through a series of wacky things, events set in a Disney-like theme park that pokes fun at Disney. Ha 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 ha. They'll never do that again. They somehow end up on a ride that turns out to be the spaceship of King and Kodos, who kidnap them, and essentially they just steal the plot from the first Trios of Horrors episode, in which, you know, King and Kodos have, like, they get the Simpsons, they get the book, the recipes, how to cook 40 humans, how to cook for 40 humans, etc. It's just that. It's a long-running version of just that one short that was memorable and great And now we stretch it to 23 minutes, and it feels like a fucking eternity.
All right. Before I say what I was going to say, is this the only instance of them doing that, of taking a Treehouse of Horrors short and then turning it into a full episode?
Treehouse of Horrors 1, yes. So as far as I can remember, it is, yes. But like
I like the idea, but if you only do it one time, that's where I all of a sudden go, now that's...
This is the second time they did that, technically, because King and Kodo show up in Gump Roast, which we just talked about.
Yeah, no, I know they show up, but what I mean is like taking hey, we did this idea before, but it was a short thing. Now we're going to do a full episode of it. I like that as a concept.
Yes.
But you have to follow through and keep doing that, because if you just do it the one time, it then just feels like a weird, out of place oddity in
exactly
sort of the history of The Simpsons. Like, why? Well, okay, what was so special about that one skit? You felt all of a sudden you had to make it into a full episode.
Yeah.
Why does this exist across the hundreds of episodes only this one time?
Yeah, and to top it all off, this is also an episode where they bring back old jokes and redo them. Like Homer eating the chips in space is in this episode as well. So like that, they just go for it. But does this mean like in a future episode we could get like, let's bring back Hugo from the one episode of Treehouse of Horrors where Bart had a double?
Which again, I like.
Sure.
If they had decided,
bring back the
so
shit.
This is 2015.
Yeah.
So if they had decided around them, you know what? One episode per season. We're going to start doing this because, hey, you know what? The Simpsons has been around for so long. We got a lot of clip things that...
Sure.
And not every single one of them obviously needs a full episode. But, hey, some of these, you know what? Some of us have some ideas. We would love to take our crack at it. You know, I'm never opposed to the retelling of something, but to do it one time is so weird.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's like I said, once is okay. Once is enough. I don't like this.
I'm sorry. I just read the name of the theme park, which is Disneyland. DIZ dash NEE dash LAND. What? Lame. Bad joke.
Yeah. I will point out that I think I still would not like it if they went back to the Treehouse of Horrors well and took more water from that one. But at least there was a follow through, and I kind of get it. Because like they eventually stopped the 3 stories with the Simpsons episodes a little bit around this time, so at least this is like hey, let's pick this up and try this. Okay, sure, that's not a great idea personally, but trying some new stuff is never awful. I'll give them that. But they don't follow through in that, so they do this once and then they just drop it and never go back to that well. So, I mean, like, it just stands out as an extra weird episode that has no place at all in The Simpsons. Like, if this was somehow a Futurama crossover, great, sure, I get it. No crossover in the slightest. This just is there. It's an episode of The Simpsons that exists in its own little realm, and you go, oh, that's a thing, and you push off a fucking table, never be seen again. Behind the fridge it goes.
Fair. Number 6.
That's going to go to season 23, which is the other very bad season. It's going to go to Mo Goes From Rags to Riches.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I can guess what the episode is about.
This was my pick for that season, which in reevaluating this, there is one that I think trumped this one. And so this episode, it basically, It is the story of Western civilization recounted by a Mose Barrag. And, like, this is like a demonic possession thing that possesses Homer over, like, a series of years. And there's a weird B-plot where Milhouse and Bart stop being friends. It's totally disjointed and unconnected to the actual thing that's happening. Which, if they had just retold the idea of Western civilization through Mose Barrag, I think I could be on board, sort of. That still sucks. But, like, the idea is, like, it's a piece of the Shroud of Turin or that kind of thing, and it's, like, now it becomes a brag, and it's magical and can talk and stuff. Okay. I'm willing to buy into some crazy bullshit. That's fine. But then the B-plot comes in, and it's just so unconnected, and it doesn't do anything at all. And it's like, why is this even here? Just tell me the story you're trying to tell. Just focus. Why are you not focusing? It's just The Simpsons at a certain point starts to lose absolute focus. And it's fine to have an A and a B plot. A lot of shows do that. But when you have such a disjointed, like, two disjointed plots in the same episode, it's just like you're watching two different shows at the exact same time, and your brain can't really do the switch because you're like, this sucked. That sucks too now.
Yeah, I think we talked about this during the episode.
Yeah.
And how this is one of those instances where, you know, when people talk about the golden era of The Simpsons,
this is it.
It feels like it's just the little things that make a difference. Where an episode like this could have been equal to the golden era of The Simpsons, because the idea of we are going to tell the history of X through this item and have, you know, the Simpson family sort of recast through these different eras as this thing travels with them. There is an interesting idea and story potential there.
I agree entirely.
And it's just that thing where it feels like, compared to the old Simpsons, where they would really put some thought and care into what just that focal point was going to be, as opposed to the later Simpsons, where it just feels like, oh, you have this really good idea, and then you're just plucking a random word out, and you're like, yeah, so we're going to do it. And it's going to be Mose Rag. All right, fine, whatever. Let's go with this. Like, that part of it just does not feel thought out. It doesn't feel like they cared. No. And it sucks. It does because suck. I look at that and go, hey, if they had instead just...
This could have been something. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been something. Like, even the idea of, like, telling the importance of the bar as or not like even a bar, because hey, you go back, I'm actually reading a book all about the history of alcohol. You go back far enough in medieval England, you had inns, taverns, and ale houses. And basically inns and taverns were for the rich, and the ale house, which the ale house was basically just somebody's house who they had access alcohol. Like, the idea of telling those stories and the importance of, like, yeah, Mose is a crappy dive bar, but here's the history of people meeting together and drinking and telling those stories and how these focal places, these meeting points, led to all these important historic moments. That's great. But then you're like, nah, that's not what this episode is. And also the focal point is Mose Rag.
Exactly. Ugh. Yeah. That's the thing. I think, like, so I think what this is this this is emblematic of like I said, their lack of focus, and then not understanding that in earlier seasons of The Simpsons, if you had a separate thing happening at the same time, it was usually in service of an entire, like, the entire plot. Like, you should have, okay, a great example is that there is the episode where Lisa becomes Bart's babysitter.
Yep.
And in that episode, he falls in the stairs and breaks his arm, and it's all wobbly, and he dislocates his shoulder and that kind of stuff, and she knocks him out and puts him in a wheelbarrow. And the way this ends up is that, like, Marge and Homer are at this boardwalk extravaganza, like, mini mall thing, and they're having the time of their life, and then this shows up that, like, it connects. You should have some connecting point, and that's fine. If it's loose, it's okay. At least it sort of kind of connects, because there's a point to the things that are happening in the episode then. Not just, this goes this way, this goes that way. Why? You know?
Yeah.
So this really is, like, I would say, one of the peaks of disjointedness. But, like, yeah, the problem realistically with this whole thing is that, like, you have the history of Western civilization as told by a piece of cloth. Who gives a shit? What a crappy idea. No thought put into it.
Number 5.
Number 5. Hassan, you're going to love this one. It's going to go to season 17's Homer Simpson, This Is Your Wife.
The reason that this is number 5 is the disrespect they showed to Ricky Gervais, comedy legend, Tristan's hero. He deserves so much better from The Simpsons. They need to go back, put him in a new episode, and it needs to be a 10 out of 10. God damn it.
Oh, that hurts.
Don't like my argument? Yeah, what? You got a problem with it? Yeah, a little bit too risque for you? Is that the problem? Yeah, offend you?
I think you said enough, actually. I think we just move on to the next one.
Sure, okay. Number 4.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, like, that's perfectly exactly it. Fuck Ricky Gervais. Number 4, season 13's The Frying Game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a parody of the Hunger Games?
No, it's a parody of the Crying Game.
Oh.
But not actually. They just used the name. The Crying Game, for anybody who doesn't know, is an extremely transphobic movie in which there's a thing where a guy falls in love with a trans woman, and then they go to, and then there's a penis because transitioning's hard. It's not a great movie, but it was well revered and respected back in, like, I think it was the 80s, 90s. 90, I think it was. Anyway, it was a whole thing. Yeah, it was a whole thing. People talked about that movie a lot until they didn't, because it just stopped being a thing people wanted to talk about. But what this actually has nothing to do with the Crying Game at all. They just use the moniker, the title. So this goes into an episode which I think is probably the reason why this is a 1 out of 10 is because this is the angriest I've gotten at a Simpsons episode ever. And it's simply because they had such a great episode. Because this could have been, at the bare minimum, an 8 or 9 out of 10. Easy. Bare minimum. Until the end, and they tear the cloth off, and they go, it's actually this. And it's like, you fucks. So Homer kind of befriends, like, an elderly woman, and he starts doing chores for her. And Marge gets roped into it too, and they kind of become like the butler and maid of this elderly woman. They don't really want to anymore, so they're trying to just leave gently and never come back. But a burglar shows up and kills her during the robbery, and Homer and Marge are framed for the murder. And this episode is essential. This episode could have been a truly quintessential Homer and Marge episode, because what happens is They're in jail. Like, there's no going back. Like, they are stuck, and death row was coming up. And at one point, Homer turns, like, goes to the ward and turns himself in and goes like, you know what? I did the whole thing. I killed the old lady. Let Marge go. She had nothing to do with this. His confession gets her off. And then he's going to go and fry for it. That's a whole thing. And now, what would be fine is if there was a small twist where, like, the robber gets caught, or the actual culprit turns himself in, or something like that. That's totally fine. And then it's like, okay, you can relieve yourself. It's fine. The stress is gone. Homer and Marge are back together. Everything's okay. But the way they do this, because it does kind of happen that way, they pull the curtain back and reveal this whole thing has been a prank show.
Yeah,
so angry. So fucking angry.
I remember liking this episode until I started looking at images of it and going, oh, right, it was a screaming caterpillar. That's dumb. Oh, right, there was a Green Mile, like, parody bit in it. That was lame. But I do remember this episode does have just, it's like one of the Simpsons references I just use in everyday lingo, which is the scene where Wiggum is talking to them, and then just in the middle of time, did you do it? And they're like, no. Oh, yeah, sorry. You know, it's just sometimes, did you do it? No. And then Homer just goes, does that ever work? No. Take him away, Lou. It doesn't matter. I'll be out by tomorrow morning. It's like, oh, yeah, no, you're right. That's disappointing that there is some really good writing here of, like, jokes like that, and, you know, the Homer tender moment of him sacrificing himself for Marge effectively, and then to just last minute be like, haha, it was all a game show.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, like, the worst thing is, so I didn't get to this point until the very end of the watch through, so I have notes on this episode that are writing down some like really good jokes and really good scenes. Like, really funny stuff. Like, truly excellent stuff in this episode. Just that ending. It just squandered the whole thing. It just absolutely ruins the whole... Oh, man, it just sucks.
It's the Game of Thrones of episodes.
Yeah, it really is. It feels like season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Number 4?
Yes. No, number 3. So we kind of skipped past number 5, which was
right. Number 3.
Number 3. It's going to go to season 18's The Boys of Bummer. Truly a top 3 contender. This one. The Boys of Bummer. What an episode. Oh God. Just even thinking about this episode just drives me into just a pit of despair. And it's just like, why did they write this? And why did they try and, like, claw this back so hard? Like, they have a whole... Okay, it's bad enough they have an episode where the entire town hates Bart because he missed a ball. Like, he missed catching a ball. That's all it is. Like, he ruined a catch in a Little League game. And the whole team hates him for it. And that's bad enough. But you can do something with that premise. What's worse is the fact that they decide what they want to do is turn this into a very serious episode. And essentially, by the midway point of the episode, Bart does attempt suicide. And it's just like, he tries to kill himself.
One of my Simpsons.
Yeah, in front of the entire town. Like, okay. Before he does that, though, he goes a little, and basically he paints Bart's socks across the town in big black letters on every wall and surface he can, or "We hate Bart." That's what it was. "We hate Bart." And he does that on the Springfield water tower, And then everybody goes out and like, oh, okay, bud, maybe you should stop. And then he's just like, yeah, hey, Bart too. And he tries to kill himself. And like, he's in... This episode would have been forgivable if, and only if, they had to let Marge have her moment. Because Marge Simpson has always had that inner, like, mama bear in her. Like, you fuck with her kids, she's going to tear you apart. And, like, I wanted that to happen in this episode so bad. It deserved it. Like, this thing happens, and this is a very serious situation, and, like, the town drives Bart into madness, and he tempts his life. And how does a parent not come out and just start swinging at everybody at that point, verbally and physically? Like, Marge Simpson should have lost it on the entire town. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. But instead, you had people going like, okay, we gotta backpedal this because this maybe is a little too dark for a Simpsons episode. And yeah, but like because of that, there's no catharsis to really give us that edge off. You can have a dark episode, but you need catharsis, and it doesn't have it. Because what they do is they make Bart replay the baseball game to try and give him the winning catch. And it's like, sure, that's not a horrible idea, but like, that's not, it's nothing. And they have to replay it like 200 some times before he makes the winning catch. And it's just so stupid. Just so fucking stupid. And they just don't have the right tone. And it's not a Simpsons episode, really. And I just feel like what they're cashing in on is like some of like the darker episodes of like Futurama or one of those, you know? It's or even like South Park. South Park was so big at this point.
Yeah, also, as far as I can tell, it doesn't actually feature Don Henley's The Boys of Summer, so...
No, it doesn't.
I don't... Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if other episodes have a reference to... Or we talked about it, the Lurleen Lumpkin, the Papa Don't Leech.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in context, that makes sense that she is a country singer. So even if you don't do Papa Don't Preach, there's at least sort of a, well, you know,
that's a
female
line.
singer. There, you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Don Henley's "The Boys of Summer" is just a song. It's not, as far as I'm aware, it's not about these topics. So it seems weird to like have the title be a parody reference to a song and then not use that song or in no way have that song be related. It's just weird. I mean, look, the Crying Game one, whatever, but there's something about being a song that's weird to me. Probably because it's just so easy to have a song in the show.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, it's just not even be there at all. Weird.
We're talking season 18 of The Simpsons. You could just license this song. It's the longest running cartoon of all time. Like,
yeah. Also, like, I don't imagine The Boys of Summer is a particularly expensive song.
If it was, just get the
popular.
And if it was, just get the Bryan Adams version.
No, get the Ataris. Ooh, I think was that like version.
Okay.
Around this time, that kind of
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's. I don't want to say The Simpsons should never have topics like suicide be there, but
I'm fine with that.
If you're going to have it, the writing needs to be there to back it up. You can't be flippant about it, guys.
Yep, exactly.
Especially with how old's Bart? 11?
10.
Especially, a 10-year-old contemplating suicide.
10-year-old boy tries to kill himself.
Guys, I don't know we're doing this right.
No.
It's one thing to have, I don't know, Barney making the joke. It's another thing to have a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I don't really know how this got greenlit, personally. I don't get it. Because I guess the only way to greenlight it would be to have the thing where he replays the baseball game. But that's not good enough. You just avoid this topic entirely if you can't. If you need a backpedal after you present your thesis statement, then don't do the thesis.
Yeah.
You know? Whatever.
Number 2.
Yep. Number 2. We're going to go to season 23's Lisa Goes Gaga. Oh, man. Oof. It's not as heinous as the other ones, but like...
You hate Lady Gaga, that's why.
I don't hate Lady Gaga, but I hate what this episode is, which is just basically like, let us suck the ass of Lady Gaga. Basically. Let us essentially apply lips to butthole and enjoy ourselves and supper.
You're not kidding. Every single image result for this episode just has Lady Gaga in it.
Yes. She is so very in the episode. And that's kind of okay because, hey, you know, it's an episode about her coming to Springfield. Sure. But if it didn't, it would be one thing if it didn't suck. Because, I mean, like, okay, there's a whole thing with her... with her trying to turn Lisa into one of her little monsters, and Lisa being not reticent towards it. But I mean, like, it's just too much. It's just about her in every respect. It's not really about Lisa not finding her own respect for herself, or like the town trying to basically become the cult of Gaga. It's a whole. It's its own thing that's just about Lady Gaga. It's as if they made the Yellow Submarine, but for Lady Gaga. That's it. And I mean, like, that can work, I'm sure, just not here in a show that's long running, doing its own thing. Like, if Lady Gaga had her own Yellow Submarine, like I just mentioned, that will be one whole different thing, but this is just that, but on the fucking Simpsons. It's a waste of everything. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's also like they get a singer, songwriter, Lady Gaga on this episode, and the song they do at the very end that turns Lisa around is so bad, and it's so badly directed. Like it's noticeable that nobody had their heart at all in anything in this episode, to a point where when Lisa's singing, and like, Gary Smith is not a bad singer, what is happening? Like, when she sounds like garbage, it's not even garbage next to Lady Gaga, just plain bad. Like, she's like whisper singing, and it's terrible. I can only assume that something happened to her voice during production or something like that, and she had to kind of like make it work. But why not just delay the episode or something? Like, it's baffling.
I was gonna say, one thing that definitely sucks about hearing about this episode is, and I had to look it up to make sure I wasn't conflating things. I wouldn't say Lady Gaga is the most vocal, we'll say, or
sure,
the most expertise when it comes to certain activist topics, let's call them that.
Yeah.
But she's also not silent on those. She is a celebrity who tends to be more outspoken on a variety of topics. And I looked up, and she literally has a Born This Way Foundation, which is a nonprofit that focuses on youth empowerment.
Exactly.
And so to have an episode that doesn't have those things, where, like, I have heard her talk about, you know, women's rights and the difficulty of, you know, being a female celebrity and sort of the expectations of sexualization of them and all that. And to have an episode like that where, it's focused on Lisa Simpson of all characters.
Yeah.
And to instead just go, no, what if she just fangirls the entire time? Oh.
Well, that's the thing. Like, she doesn't fangirl the entire time. So it's Lisa is hateful towards Lady Gaga, but she doesn't want to be that. But then she does absolutely want to be that at the very end. The flip is crazy.
But, what I more so mean is, for it not to be about addressing those
I see what you mean.
Things of, hey, I don't want to be a fangirl, and instead to have, Lady Gaga be, the chance is there for her to say things about, no, I get you, here are the problems with fans and celebrity culture and all these things, but to just not be there and instead just, it's, Lisa's just a hater, and then, no, actually, she's a fan. It's yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
You had a celebrity that actually cares about these things and talks about it, and you could have done more, but nope.
Nope. Of course not. Of course not.
Brings us into number 1, the worst Simpsons episode.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So, this is honestly this episode has had this coming for a long time. Long time. And it's about time that we just jump on this train and get it going. Because this episode, the worst episode of The Simpsons of all time, in my opinion, is, factual opinion, is Marge versus singles, seniors, childless couples, and teens and gays.
Second, I thought you were about to say the monorail. I was like, oh, that's... we're going for it, huh?
that would be an extremely controversial one.
Let's just see why it's bad.
I take it back. Marge versus the monorail. No, it's
oh no! What have I done?
Marge versus the monorail will have its day. I want to discuss the episode at some point in this show because it's an interesting one because it's not that good, but it is good. But it's not that good. But
man, I just want to say I made it one line into reading about this episode before seeing and being reminded that their Raffi parody is just called Roofy.
Yeah. What a great character.
Guys, that's
this episode I hate so much. It's so heinous. This is the most they've tried to be South Park. And anytime The Simpsons tries to be something that is not The Simpsons, you can absolutely tell it's doing it. It tries to be Family Guy. It has tried to be Futurama, South Park. It has tried to be everything else under the sun. And when it's parody is one thing, but when they go oh crap, we're losing to blank show, we must become that show now. You can't. So, one of the appeals of South Park, especially at the time, is that they are really good at adapting for the zeitgeist, and they can make an episode a week. It's crazy. What they do is absolutely insane at the South Park studios. Credit where credit is due. If a crazy thing happened, for instance, Michael Jackson episodes happened at one point in South Park's career. Obviously, he was a kind of a character, but when he died, they had an episode out that week about his death. That's almost impossible. Almost impossible. Especially for an animated show. The Simpsons can't quite do that, but what it can do is it can be attempting irreverence, attempting sarcasm, attempting the things that South Park was doing at the exact same time, that mean-spirited fuck everybody attitude. Which that is not what The Simpsons is. It's never been that. It's supposed to poke fun at the family values and that kind of stuff and family sitcoms, but it wasn't supposed to be saying fuck everybody. That was never the point. This episode goes so far away from what The Simpsons is and was, it just loses itself entirely. It barely feels like a Simpsons episode. it may as well, like I said, be a South Park, or could have been anything else. Fuck, this feels like a shitty. Only Canadians will know this. A shitty Kevin Spencer episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's where this is at. And for those who don't know, yeah, so this is the one where basically Marge takes Maggie to a child entertainer concert, a guy called Roofy. And then basically the babies riots because Roofy is not going to play. And then the cops show up to, quell the riots, but in the way that cops do, with excessive force against babies. And it's supposed to be funny because, it's funny if the cops are using excessive force against babies. And it's like, man, no. There's also a thing where Homer hits himself really hard with a hammer to appease Maggie. Yeah. Also, it kind of like equates music festivals in general as like just a den of like drugs and rape, because I mean they can be they definitely have those aspects, but like it's not Woodstock '99. Not every one of them is anyway. And like, man, the stuff that happens in this episode is just baffling. This is also where the "we have blank at home" comes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Marge literally says that.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about this episode. Obviously, I haven't seen it, but I think it's very easy, your explanation of this is the Simpsons trying to be South Park and just coming across as, bitter and resentful. It's like, that sucks. Like, what?
Yeah.
No one wants that of the Simpsons.
No, especially the Simpsons. It's just like I said, it can be sarcastic and irreverent. It could be anything under the sun except for bitter and resentful. And again, if that bitterness was directed towards one single focal point, I can kind of get that. You can make an episode about that. But what this actually is that, again, it adopts the South Park fuck everybody attitude. So literally just going like, hey, fuck this, fuck that, fuck you, fuck them. Everybody sucks. Love us. We're great because we said everybody sucks. And it's like, that's not what we want. You don't get it. Like, you're not understanding your own show at that point. You just are trying some dumb shit that you think is going to get you good ratings and therefore take back your people from South Park, essentially. And it's like, it's not how that works.
So I'm looking at the writer of this episode. Couple of noteworthy things.
Sure.
So at that same time, he was also writing for The Ali G Show, which...
Oh, man, that makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. Somebody who would write this kind of episode would go to that. But also, so he left The Simpsons, looks like around 2000. So TV show around 2004, was part of the movie in 2007.
Sure.
Boy, since then, his writing credits. So Alvin and the Chipmunks, as well as Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel.
Oh, okay.
He did do 2 episodes of The Office.
Sure.
But then that got followed up by the Angry Birds movie.
Oh, no, he's the Angry Birds guy?
Just the first movie, though, which is odd.
Sure, okay.
Not the second one, for some reason.
All right.
It kind of just seems like hasn't really done anything since then.
Awesome. Great career. Good
Yeah.
job. I mean, you got to get paid. I agree. You got to get paid. But, like, man, whew. Yeah, I mean, if your main thing is like writing the Ali G show, and then like that one episode of The Simpsons.
He only did
and then...
4 episodes of the Ali G show, so it doesn't seem like he was like a main writer.
I guess not. Okay.
He did do 54 episodes of The Simpsons, but yeah, it just seems like to go from Simpsons to Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah,
there's
seriously.
a couple other things, small things in between.
Sure, yes.
And then the Angry Birds, and then just, now I want to make sure he hasn't passed away, has he? No, he still seems to be alive, but just seems to have disappeared, kind of thing.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Love it. Great. Yeah.
Apparently, he's used the pseudonym Pennywise.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a weird pseudonym.
All the best to him, but man, I'm glad you quit your day job. Personally, I wonder what other episodes of The Simpsons he wrote. Maybe he's not that bad. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Either way, this episode like I said, emblematic of a bunch of really bad stuff with The Simpsons. Them trying to be something that they are not, and failing horribly at trying to be that thing. And this creates the downward spiral that kind of becomes this sucking nature of the latter seasons of The Simpsons, up until they kind of like circle the bowl enough to kind of get themselves most of the way out. Yeah, that's the worst. Here's the thing. I think that equally so of the best, the worst is worth watching in some way. Like, obviously, don't do this and torture yourself with this crap. Like, there are 36 episodes that I've ranked 1 out of 10. And there are only 31 episodes that I ranked 10 out of 10. So go for the 10 to the 10s more than anything else, obviously. But it is fascinating to watch really bad episodes of a show, especially something like The Simpsons, where they have so many of them, because I think this is truly an example of what can happen to a show when it's been on the air for so long, that you're going to get so many peaks and valleys. But like, you watching the bad stuff, it's almost like I recommend if you are a writer or want to be a writer, watch the bad episodes as a way to like figure out what not to do, because they are really bad, and you can get away with some of those things. But in the way they did them, you need to understand like how not to do that stuff, how to keep your show and your writing succinct and interesting, and your show running in a very clean, quick pace. Like, if someone's being held up by an episode, if at any point your audience is like, oh, this episode is done, and they look at their clock or watch and they go, no, it's not, it's only halfway through, what am I doing with my life? Then you've not done your job. So these episodes pretty much all have something of that happening, where at some point, like especially The Man Who Came to Be Dinner, that one has a section in it that I call the Pit of Despair, which is halfway through, because you hit this valley, like, okay, it's over, it's done with, holy crap, there's 10 more minutes left. So,
hey,
yeah, these all have that, but like that episode especially has that. So, again, if you want to be a showrunner or a writer or anything of that sort, I think these episodes are great as a learning tool. And honestly, they're an interesting piece of cartoon history to see how bad a show can be when left unchecked. Because that is also the problem with The Simpsons. They cut a deal with Fox and future producers that they can just kind of do what the hell ever. Within reason, censorship and all that. But, like, they can just basically make whatever, and it'll pretty much go on air. even if it's terrible.
And on that note, we're free, Tristan. We're finally free of The Simpsons. We can move on. Never have to have another episode.
Like I said, I did want to go back to Marge vs. the Monorail, but like that'll be like, I don't know, like year,
more episodes,
maybe longer. I don't know. No, he's just gonna chug. Oh, okay,
more episodes, huh?
At least one more.
Yeah.
Not like I said, not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. We'll call this probation, not freedom.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I think I might owe you another bottle of that. Like I said, I have that one over here.
Don't worry, there's another bottle.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways.
On that note.
Why don't you tell people where to find us?
We are at Blue Sky. We're on there all the time at EIFNAR. Bluesky.app. Anyway, just you know how to find us.
BSKY?
I guess it's BSKY.
It's actually Blue Sky.
It's not
I don't
Blue
know.
Sky. It's not written out.
You don't need to worry about that part of it. Anyways.
I don't know. It's just at EIFNAR. Just go there and basically follow us and all the updates of the show every week. Anyway, go to our Spotify and iTunes, or wherever you find this podcast, and listen to our show. And if you find yourself on YouTube, like and subscribe buttons are existing, so click those because that will give me fulfillment in my life. And if you don't click those, I will not be a fulfilled person, and I will resent you for my entire life.
Oh, harsh, but fair enough.
Yep. Also, share the show with your friends. Just if you enjoy this, then pass it along to someone you love or hate. It's still a listen or review to us. So, if you
either way, they probably care about The Simpsons. So
yeah,
I mean,
that's
pretty
the main
popular
thing.
show. So yeah.
I think in some way, especially if you're North American, you like The Simpsons in some manner. So, you might want to hear about your favorites or especially the worst ones, because holy shit, there's some bad there's some bad episodes out there. Like I said, 36 of these episodes out of 700 plus are terrible, and that's not even scratching the ones that are just kind of terrible. It's a lot of them. We'll be here a long time if we want to do that. Anyway. Also go to our friend site, which is djdane.com. That's the guy that does our music, djdane.com. Listen to his great tunes and sit him down and just get him to watch all the worst episodes, all 36 of them.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Can't leave the room. No breaks.
Nope. Full-on Clockwork Orange situation. I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. He'll enjoy it.
Yeah. He'll love it. I'm sure he'll love it.
Yeah.
It's crusting over. It's terrible. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another 18th episode of Everything is Fine with Is Ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Say it.